What's up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Believe in Kentucky. My name is Vinny Hardy. As always, y'all go straight to believe.com. You can get this episode of the podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure to rate, subscribe, leave a comment. Let us know what you think. We got another great guest on here. Go way back to the early days of Mark Stoops' time when he first got to UK. Talking about the signal caller who was there calling the shots. We got Jalen Whitlow on here this evening, man. Jalen, how you doing?
I'm good, man. How about yourself? Can't complain.
Can't complain, man. I'm with you. Can't complain. Appreciate you taking the time to hop on. Um, just looking back at how fast the time has gone by. Stoop says it all the time in his press conferences. I've been here 9 years, and it's just boom. And you flash back to 2012, 2013. You were here kind of when he first got there, man. So what was that like for you?
Yeah, so I remember the day he showed up here, or showed up in Lexington. I remember that. I remember we met him in the field house or in the indoor facility and whatnot, and shook his hand and whatnot. It was an exciting time because we knew that you just knew that a change was on the horizon. You just, people can feel it. Obviously, everything takes time, but we knew that change, was there. And it was, it showed up at our doorstep. So, um, I appreciated Coach Stoops. Obviously, I ended up transferring, but like I tell people all the time, I meet a lot of Kentucky fans here in Georgia, man, a whole bunch of them. It seemed like a couple times a week I do. And I tell people all the time, I knew Stoops was going to do great. I knew Coach was going to do great. He's a player's coach. The players love him. He's an honest guy. He tells you like it is, good or bad. And I always had a good relationship with him. He was always, I always respected him. So, that's, what that was. But yeah, I remember the day he showed up, man. I remember me and Fred Tiller, who was my roommate at the time, we left the dorm to go meet him and whatnot. And, it was on from there.
And it's crazy. He even says it, in press conferences now. You'll hear him say kind of. He said something the other day. It's in vogue now to be relatable. Like coaches now are trying to make themselves be players coaches that maybe hadn't been before because you got the transfer portal and you got things of that nature. And he said, I've been me this whole time. And he said,
Yeah.
dudes know I've been real the whole time. He said, you got guys, basically he said you got guys that are trying to front and be that now, that hadn't been that before. But he just kind of been him the whole time. And it's just kind of to your point.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you say, I'm a coach and I know the impact that coaching can have on young, impressionable athletes that want to better their future, want to, get to the next level. And that's just, I don't want to be negative, but sadly, you don't always get that from coaches, especially in college. And sometimes, you can kind of understand because there's so much going on. You get reported in so many different ways. You got recruiting, you got 130 something players on the roster you got to deal with. You got, a very high number of staff and support staff that you have to interact with every day. You just, you got to be a special person, honestly, to be at that level and have the amount of wherewithal and be where your feet are to be able to create relationships and develop those relationships and just be real because there's so much built on being fake, just to be honest with you. But, I never got that from Coach Stoops. He was always, like I said, he was always honest with me, man, good or bad, whether, the tough losses, which we had a couple, a few, but, even the good things, he was always honest. And I respected that, man. As a player, as a grown man now, 27 years old, I respect that, the stuff that he told me when I was 19. It was just honest, whether things I need to work on, things I got to do well, or I got to get up, stay on the sideline, right? And that's those things right there, man. It's just, you get to a certain point where you just respect it. That's the only word I can really come up with. So I'm happy to see, they are starting to really have real success now. I hope it continues because I think he got a great staff. He's a great coach. He's a great program builder. I know his name's starting to swirl in some rumors around here, but At the same time, if he stay at Kentucky, it's only going to, keep increasing because he's going to keep getting good players. So, yeah, I have nothing negative to say about the guy. He's always been positive, and it was always fun to play for a coach who understood his players.
And guys talk, right? I mean, the guys that are there now, we got the transfer portal now. It was a few years after you were there, but we've seen Will Levis coming from Penn State. We've seen Darren Rosenthal transfer to Kentucky from LSU, Jacquez Jones from Ole Miss, and I'm blanking. Wandale Robinson from Nebraska.
Right. Yeah.
4 guys all making an impact.
Mm-hmm.
If the vibe hadn't have been what it is, maybe they inquire, guys be like, man, maybe you don't want to, maybe this ain't the place. But dudes talk, and obviously, the word is kind of spreading that, hey, this is a place where you want to be.
Oh yeah, and people see it. It's easy to see it. And Waka Flocka Flame said it the best. He was around the program. He said, he was honest. He said it feel like it's a good energy around there. It feel like guys are relaxed, and it's like a family type atmosphere. And I know everybody throw that around. It's so cliche, the family atmosphere. I mean, recruiting, everybody throws that around, but I haven't been back there in a while. I know when you just get to a program, because I'm a high school coach and I know how it is. When you get there, you got to set the groundwork for, so it's not a lot of smiling and that type of thing going on. But once you lay the foundation, it really starts to manifest. And that's what's happening. He laid the foundation of the expectations, the culture there. And, and that's what it is. Like I said, players talk, man. Players talk. Those guys know, they know what they getting when they get there with Coach Stoops. It's just, a guy who's a player's coach, and I know that's another word that people just throw around, but it's just the truth. He's going to tell you the truth. He's going to coach you hard, but he's also going to be in your corner, you know what I'm saying, at the end of the day. So, like I said, I just, you hit the nail on the head. Players talk, right? And they get around, positive things get around to the guys.
And here's the thing: you said you and Fred went to meet him for the first time, and you said you could tell, it was going to take some time, but you knew he was going to get Kentucky turned around. This was a dude who had never been a head coach before. He'd been a coordinator at Miami and Florida State, but it's still different sliding over to the head coach. Stepping into the SEC, first time as a head coach at a Kentucky program that's down. I mean, losing to Vanderbilt, getting blown out by Vanderbilt, and you still could tell that he had it together.
I just think some people is just in their veins, man. It's just in his veins. His dad was a longtime coach, his brothers. So he came from Florida State, if I'm not mistaken. At the time he was leaving, he left Florida State. So Florida State, very successful program. Jimbo Fisher, great coach, right? So we knew that the pedigree was there, right? We knew that as a 19-year-old kid, 18-year-old kid at that time, I was 18. Yeah, I was 18 when I met him. So you just thinking like, he's coming from Florida State. Florida State is this. We see Florida State playing in top bowl games every year, national championship or whatnot. So this is what you're seeing. So you automatically assume when you see his brothers coaching at Oklahoma, other brother was at Arizona or somewhere at the time. So, you hear about his dad was a longtime coach from Youngstown, Ohio, which is a great area. Coach Vince Morrow's from there. And many other guys had a couple teammates from there too. So you kind of know, if you're in the football world, okay, there's something there. You know what I'm saying? There's hope. You know what I'm saying? There's hope there. So, and not to discredit, because the staff before that, because it's a lot of guys on that staff that I still talk to this day, and I love. But at the end of the day, we know what it's about. At the end of the day. So we know that what it's about, we needed that for us to have a chance to get where we wanted to go. So, that's what it was, man. So, like I said, that's what it is, and we knew that it was hope there, and we had a chance to do something. Now, we didn't do that his first year there, which was my last year playing there in 13.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there was a lot of good principles that, got installed and instilled in the program and in the players. So, you got to take the positive and be thankful for what it was, So I learned a lot.
And you mentioned that you're coaching now. So where are you coaching at? And tell us a little bit about your program and what you
Yeah.
got.
So when I went to Eastern, I played at Eastern for 2 years, finished. I went to go train, do pro
Eastern
day.
Illinois, right?
Eastern Illinois, yep, Eastern Illinois, small Division I school in Charleston, Illinois, in the middle of nowhere, literally. About 2 hours from St. Louis, about 2.5 from Chicago, about 2 from Indianapolis. So it's in the middle of nowhere. But great football pedigree. So I played there for 2 years. Tony Romo, Jimmy Garoppolo, son, Peyton, Brad Childress, name them. And I got a chance to come back after I got done training. Decided I didn't want to do Canadian football, and I coached there for 1 year, for a whole calendar year, pretty much. And it was a great experience. And I remember sitting on a couch in college watching. It was my last. I was getting ready to graduate soon. It was November, and I didn't go home for Thanksgiving. And I sat on the couch and watched my offensive coordinator from my junior year of high school compete for a state championship that year. And I sat on the couch and watched the game, and it just looked fun to me. And it just, I was like, okay, I want to do this. So I started creating my own playbook, creating my quarterback rule book, and all that type of stuff, applying for jobs. End up moving back to Alabama after I graduated. I was in Alabama for about maybe a month, and I took a job in Hilton Head, South Carolina, which is literally an island. It's called Hilton Head Island.
It's nice over
And
there.
ironically, the principal went to Kentucky, who was there. She's from Kentucky. Coach Phillips used to come down there and recruit. So Coach Joker, I used to see him all the time. But at the same time, that's where I decided to go. So I stayed there for 3 years, quarterback coach, offensive coordinator, fresh out of college. Didn't know anything. Thought I knew football until I became a coach. Knew that I didn't know anything until my last year there. I really started to kind of catch my footing a little bit and learn. Then I decided to leave. Went to the school in Texas, stayed there for a couple months because I got stuck here during the pandemic. So I decided to just move to Georgia. So I moved to Georgia, started coaching quarterbacks at Sprayberry High School, which is in Marietta. I coached there for 1 season. First went to the second round of the playoffs, which was the first time in school history. Had a senior quarterback who was pretty good. Got a chance to coach him. Great experience. But then I got out of coaching high school ball. Now I'm just training quarterbacks. So that's kind of the coaching I'm doing right now, is more private coaching.
Cool. So just fine tuning guys and kind of getting guys ready for when they
Yep.
step up to the college level.
Yeah, I work with kids from 4th grade all the way up to high school. And when my quarterback I coach the quarterback at Hilton Head, who's at Tennessee right now. Now it's crazy to say because he's at University of Tennessee, but he's a quarterback at University of Tennessee right now under Josh Heupel, and I coached him in South Carolina. So when he come back from
Hooker?
college, no, not Hooker. He's his name is Gaston Moore.
Okay.
So when he comes back from college, I usually go down to South Carolina, work with him, and we talk often. Great kid, good athlete too, good quarterback. But yeah, so from 4th grade all the way up to really college quarterbacks, I work with them all.
Wow, that's good stuff, man. Good stuff. And we'll get to the cats too, but let's go ahead. You have a book out, and you say you got another one in the works coming down the pipe.
Yep. So this one's called Prepare, the Guide to a Successful Collegiate Experience. So I advise, high school athletes, college athletes, and their parents. There's a lot of good information in here. Just like I said, decided to, started during the pandemic, took a break because I was coaching, got out after the season, picked it back up, took about 3, 4, 5 weeks, whatever it was, to finish it off. And self-published it on Amazon. You can get that on Amazon. You can get the Kindle version or paperback. And just something that I always wanted to do. I always want to be known for something other than football. And I know this still got something to do with sports, but, you know, I always wanted to do something else, you know, and I was always eager to find something else I can do. So, you know, I took this up and I'm, like you said, I started my second book as well. I'm not going to reveal what that's about yet, but it's going to go in depth with some stuff that's already in here. But it's also another topic that I'm going to touch. And, you know, I advise college athletes and high school athletes to really grab that. It's something, and I was telling somebody this other day, it's something that if I had this as a freshman, a lot of things would have been different. If I had this as a freshman in college. You know, that's just not, I'm not saying that because I wrote it. I'm just saying it, just being honest. Like, there's information in here that I wish I would have known as an 18-year-old kid. If I did, you know, it would have led to more questions and things would have been different. That's all I'm gonna say about that. But it's one of those things, man. You know, I wish I could get in the hands of every single athlete out there that's in high school that aspire to play collegiate sports or that's already in college. I wish I could get this in their hands because it's just one of those things, man, that you don't know until you know, right? You don't know.
Exactly.
You don't know until you know, man. And it's, you know, I'm giving some information in here. And the second book is going to go in detail, right, in more depth with some of this stuff. But all I can say is you don't know until you know. So if you're a parent out there, grab this for your son or your daughter. It's going to help them out.
I say it a lot. You can't have perspective until you get perspective. You know, which is essentially the same
Yeah,
thing.
it's the
It's
truth,
so
man.
true. You know, it's you, and you only get it when you get it. You can't. Sometimes you can't rush it. Sometimes you wish you had it back a
Right.
while ago, but you can't have it until you get it for sure. So I'll definitely we'll get the link on Amazon and put that on the social media for the podcast and tweet that out to
Appreciate that, man.
everybody and the Facebook page and the Twitter page
Thank
and
you.
IG and all that for sure. For sure. Um, Speaking of, you know, you haven't long been out of college, but stuff has changed quite a bit. You talked about, you know, you wish you'd known stuff just 8 or 9 years ago when you're 27. Um, NIL, being from Alabama, played at Kentucky, played at Eastern Illinois. Had NIL been a thing, you probably been asked this already. What kind of deal would you have pursued? Would you have tried to get a little something back in your hometown? What would you have done in Lexington? What would you have done in Charleston, Illinois, NIL wise, had that been in effect when you were in college?
Man, to be honest with you, I was so, as a college student, I was so naive to building my brand. And I had people telling, my parents used to tell me, you know, keep a good image and that type of thing. But I was so naive to it. But just to, you know, kind of cut to the chase, I don't know how much stuff I would have pursued actively. I was so focused. I was all SEC academic 2 years in a row. Um, you know, not that that's extremely hard to do, but it takes some work. And I was during the season, I was focused on just trying to get better, man, and help my team as much as I could. So I was, you know, I was taught to be, you know, single focused. Now in the off season, I definitely would have probably pursued some things, but looking back at it, if I'm a college athlete now, pursue everything you can. You know what I'm saying? Pursue everything you can. Now be respectful to your coaches, your teammates, because you got a goal, right? But at the same time, don't pass up opportunities because, you know, it's gonna help you in the long run, whether it's lucrative or not, right? You're learning business. You're learning how to build relationships. You know what I'm saying? So like that's the biggest thing. The money is what it is what it is, but you're learning how things work and how it run. It's about the education. That's the biggest thing. So these guys getting these big deals, great. But there are, I mean, the kid at Alabama, Bryce Young, 18, 19 years old, and he's been in business meetings, I'm sure. He's talked to, he's read contracts. He's been talking to certain people. So he has a level of knowledge that most people don't even have at 35, but he's 18. So, and his bank account's looking better than most people's too. So at the same time, you know, it's an exposure thing. It's a brand builder. But I think the biggest thing is the education. Yes, the money is good. Get the guys who can get money from it, who can make money from it, who can profit, great. But the amount of stuff that you can learn, the amount of things that you can take from it, I think is even better because now, you're like charging your battery, right? You charge your battery. Okay, now when Bryce Young become, which I think he's going to be a first round draft pick, when he becomes an NFL veteran, he's so well versed as a 36-year-old man now, 37, whenever he decided to step away from the league. Nowadays quarterbacks stepping away from the league at 44, I guess. But if he's, what I'm saying, if he, he's well ahead, he's light years beyond where most guys would be. So NIL is great. It was well, it was definitely due, but my spiel is, and I gotta say this, my spiel is the colleges and the NCAA are still not paying anything.
Right.
So they still got off the hook
Yep.
at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
They just signed a piece of paper that said, okay, the local businesses can pay you, or you can get businesses to pay you, local or not, but we're still not giving you a dime.
Yep.
The institutions are still not giving you a dime.
Mm-hmm.
People can look at it for what it is. That's the truth. You know what I'm saying? That's just the honest truth. So they still off the hook, but at the same time, the players don't really care about that because all they see is, okay, opportunity and potential money. But the crux of the problem is still the problem, kind of. You see what I'm saying? But I know a lot of people kind of put it on the back burner, which is that's what they wanted. The NCAA and these institutions, okay, it's on the back burner now because these guys are getting paid, even though it's not from us. But, not to be negative or anything, but that's just the truth. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, shout out to the players, build your brand, get this book, learn how to do that. But build your brand. You know what I'm saying? Build your brand and take advantage of the opportunity.
And you talked about Bryce. There was even, some skepticism, some little chatter that, this once these guys get paid, it's going to detract and take away from their focus from the team. It's going to, and you talk about him already being in business meetings, him already having stuff in his bank account, and to be a freshman and still learn the game, he's still doing his thing on the field. He hasn't been out there and gone 12 of 48 with 5 picks. It ain't,
Yeah, I mean, he arguably the best quarterback in college football right now. You know what I'm saying? And people, and I watched him, and he looks like a pocket passer. But if you watch the game, you watch the last game. Who did they play last? Tennessee. If you watch the Tennessee game, he's one. His legs are elite as well. So the guy's definitely not unfocused because of NIL. He's focused, and I think a big part of that is being in a good program. Nick Saban's obviously probably the best coach we've ever seen at the Division I level. So that's helping too. He got a lot of support. He got people in his corner who's helping him kind of filter some of that stuff as well. But at the end of the day, it's hard to get 18-year-old kids to focus when they just got a Porsche deal. You know what I'm saying? It's tough. I can only imagine, you know what I'm saying, to get an 18-year-old kid to focus when they just got a deal that's going to pay them, north of $500,000. And I know only a select few got those, but like the kid Quinn Ewers from Ohio State, man, he should be in high school right now. He's probably 17, but he has over $1 million in the bank. So you got to come from, if you come from a good upbringing, you can kind of stay focused. But even then, that's tough, man. You ask an 18-year-old kid to go to class, wake up early, go to study tables, go to team meal, show up to practice on time, show up to meetings on time, and he's hitting that alarm clock, thinking, "Man, I got 300,000 in the bank at 18." You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those things. But like I said, the good programs are able to help those kids filter.
Exactly. Flipping up to the Cats, 6-1, coming off a bye. Just played at Georgia, #1 team in the nation. You tweeted out, everybody follow Jalen at @Whitlow_2 on Twitter. You talked about Liam Coen, even against that Georgia defense. You basically pointed out that he was kind of getting in his bag a little bit. You said, love the QB play and play calling from Kentucky right now. Honestly, Georgia's just a very good team. So what were your What'd you see from Liam Coen and Will Levis against that defense of Georgia?
I'm glad you asked me. So I knew about Liam Coen before most people did because I'm a guy who absolutely loves the Rams offense with Sean McVay. So I got all their games. I watched their film, like not the games, but I watched their all 22 film, the tight and the wide view. I've seen every game for the past, 3 years, 4 years of film. So I know the offense. I don't know what they call things, but I know the offense very well because I watched so many hours of film of it. But I think he comes from great stock as far as coaching tree, and I think he's a super smart guy, brilliant play caller. He understands how to deal with his quarterbacks. I think that's what I like to look at too. He don't, and he even says this: you treat your quarterback on game day, you're just a caddy to him. Tiger Woods is going to play, you just be his caddy, right? Mistake or not, it's too late to yell at a guy. It's too late to fuss at a guy. It's too late to be super stern on Saturday at 3:30 against the number one team in the country. You're his caddy, right? And it showed. Like, that's funny that Will Levis played his best game against the best team that college football has seen on defense in I don't know how long. That's a big deal. So that shows you where that relationship is and where that coaching is. But at the same time, love the play caller. Will Levis got in the lead arm. He'll play in the NFL. He'll play on Sundays. Um, but I love the play calling, man. I love using the tight ends. They use the tight ends. They kept Georgia off balance with the screen game, right? The play action game was pretty good. Will Levis was pretty efficient. He helped the team with his legs a little bit, which they will need down the stretch right here. But I like everything about the offense. I love running the ball, but I'm a quarterback, so I like to see the ball in the air too. But they got a good balance. When they are the best when they are balanced. They running, the wide zone, they play action and off the wide zone. They running inside zone, play action off inside zone. Running counter and power, play action off counter and power. That's hard for a defense to get a beat on. So when you're rolling like that, man, it makes the job for the quarterback much easier in a system like that because everything is built off of there's layers to it. The screen game is from the run game, right? Everything starts with the run game. Screen game, the play action game, the vertical downfield drop back passing game. I just like everything about it. So, I take my time on Saturdays and watch their games just to watch the offense, and study the offense because I love studying it. And I go back on Sundays and watch it again because I don't really watch NFL ball. So I go back on Sundays and watch the games again. So I know the offense just as good as the players at Kentucky. I feel like I just don't know the terminology because I'm not in the meetings. But
Right.
I like studying the offense, man. I think they got a good thing going. Hopefully Kentucky can keep the guy because I think it's going to be a lot of people after him, man. It's going to be a lot of people after him. Whoever get that LSU job, whoever get the USC job, maybe some people after Liam Coen because I think he's one of those guys that's going to be you're going to see around for a long time calling plays.
And you talked about how Levis played his best game against Georgia, and Georgia kind of took the running game away. They couldn't lean on the running game like they
Right.
normally do.
And I knew
And
that
he
would
was
happen.
still 32 or 42, and he had 4 or 5 drops. Could have been 37 or 42 against that defense when you were really one dimensional and you really only had one receiver. Wandell was really, but he had a lot of
Yeah.
catches, but they didn't let him get deep. So
Yeah, that's yeah. Wandell is he's an NFL player, period. And he even dropped one in the end zone, which was a great throw because that's Will had to put it low and away, and he dropped a touchdown on that one. But the guy could have been 37 for 42 or something like that. You know what I'm saying? That would have been crazy against Georgia. But that just goes to show you where they are, man. I just think it's not the same Kentucky from when I was there. It's just not, and people don't like to hear that, especially people that maybe play with me but let's be honest.
Mhm.
They got better players. They got a great staff, great defensive coordinator, brilliant. Offensive coordinator, brilliant. Head coach, great coach, right? great strength staff because some of those guys are still there that was there when I just got done training a young quarterback myself in the weight room today, and the same stuff that I learned when I was at Kentucky is some of the same stuff I'm teaching him, right? So they got a great staff. Hopefully, it can stay together long, but you know what happens in this game. People come out to good people, so they're gonna seek that staff. But they got a great staff, man. And I just hope they stay together because I think they can do some stuff. Will Levis, second year in the offense next year. Some of those guys coming back. It could be big. But even this year, I think they can. I think they can run the table the rest of the year, man. They got that ability. So if they do, I'm not sure what bowl game they'll be eligible for, but you never know what happens. Georgia could easily lose to Florida. And I say easily because Alabama lost to Texas A&M. Texas A&M lost to Mississippi State. So, we don't know. A lot could happen. Kentucky can honestly maybe still go to Atlanta. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I don't really know how that is going to shake out, but they right there, man. They're right there. I think if they played Oklahoma, I think they would honestly take Oklahoma down to the wire. Oklahoma's ranked like 5th. I think they'll beat Cincinnati personally. That's just how I feel. So Kentucky's right there, man. They just got to finish the season out strong and, see what happens with that.
Oklahoma's been playing with fire all year. They have escaped, by with the hair of their chinny chin 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, I'm never a big believer in Oklahoma, to be honest with you. I just think it's a certain brand of football that they play that just when they play the big boys, they just can't. Now they almost did it with Baker Mayfield in 2017. I think they lost to Georgia in the playoffs, but I just think I love Lincoln Riley and what he do on offense. The quarterback play, I love the scheme, love it. But I just think it's a certain brand out there that they play, and they're used to playing it the whole year. So when they get to play in Alabama or Georgia, I just don't really think it matches. The only reason why they beat Florida last year because Florida had like 17 guys out. So I don't believe in that. I don't believe in something about it I don't believe in at Oklahoma. I don't know what it is. I wish I could go watch a practice, but it's something about it that for some reason they just don't seem to stand strong against the SEC type energy that come at them when they got to play Alabama or Georgia. So I don't know. I could be wrong. I'm not like down in Oklahoma, but that's just how I feel about it. But I love the offense though.
And look, I mean, they're fixing to see here in a couple years, week in and week out. Texas and Oklahoma are coming to the SEC. Not going to be just okay. Get up for them for a bowl game when you got 2 or 3 weeks to get ready.
Yeah,
it's going to be Alabama at LSU, Florida, South Carolina. They're going to be week in and week out on that grind like you played in and like everybody does in the SEC every week.
Yeah, the thing that may save them is when they get an SEC, now you may get guys from Georgia, Florida to go there, Alabama, Louisiana to go to Oklahoma more because they're going to be playing in this region in their away games. So, but if they, with the structure they have and the team they have, honestly, I mean, if they were in the SEC this year, I think they'll lose 5 games. If they had a tough schedule, like a tough SEC schedule, they may lose 4 games. That's just how I feel. People like to say SEC is not as good, whatever. The SEC is not what it was when I was at Kentucky. It's not. Just honest. It's just not. But when you got to play these teams back to back that may not be as good as Oklahoma, but they almost there, you got to get up every week to play those teams. And people don't realize that. They just look at the schedule and see that team. No, it's the preparation for the team. Every week, it's a grind. You got to play the best teams in the country, in a span of 5 weeks. How can you get your team to prepare well, to stay healthy, to practice well, and to perform on Saturday at noon or 3:30 or 7? For that, that's tough. That's a tough deal, man. So, and this just goes back to Kentucky. Shout out to Kentucky for doing it. You know what I'm saying? That's a grind. Even teams like Missouri can slip up and beat you.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? LSU's not very good this year, but LSU has some of the best talent in the country. So you go lollygagging against LSU, you'll get beat. You go lollygagging against Florida, you'll get beat. Vanderbilt, probably not so much. No disrespect, but it just is what it is. Tennessee is an up-and-coming program, one of the most up-and-coming programs in the country. Kentucky people don't want to hear that, but I studied that offense. I studied that coach. I've been watching this film since he was at UCF. Tennessee is going to be a team you don't want to see coming up for most people. And that's just the honest truth. It's just hard to stop that offense. They're going to get good players. If I'm a receiver, if I'm a quarterback, Tennessee is one of those places that's on my list because I know instead of 60 plays in the game with that tempo, when it's going well, I may get 85 plays. So that may be 5 more touches for me. So it's one of those things that kids look at because I know because I'm coaching these kids in high school, and this is what they talk about. So, that's one of those things. But, yeah, man, that gauntlet in the SEC is not it's not nothing to be played with, man, to be honest with you. It's brutal.
That's right. That's right. He talked about, and of course, all the fans, Kentucky fans too, are getting optimistic and trying to look ahead. The team isn't, but trying to look ahead, like you said, to potentially running the table. They're 6-1, just come off a bye, got 5 games left. Be a historic season. I think they only won 11 games back in like 1950 or 1951. The first stop on this process is Mississippi State. Now, you played against them. You've been down to Starkville and all that. Tell everybody what that environment is like and what it's like, facing not the other Bulldogs. They just came off the Georgia Bulldogs. Now you talk about the other ones in the room.
I don't know what it is about Starkville, man. I remember we played there on a Thursday night my sophomore year, and it's just rock you to sleep there for some reason. It's just, it's a very, serene place. It's country. You just driving and boom, there's a school. So it's like, I don't know what it is. It's always tough to play there. They got the cowbells going. They got a decent venue over there too. It's always, for some reason, even Alabama in the past recent history, outside of this year, Alabama even used to struggle at Mississippi State. We talking about Alabama. So they got a good setup. It's one of those things where you definitely got to come ready to play. That offense that Mike Leach run, like you said, I'm a nerd when it comes to studying offense, and so I watched all the film. It's hard to stop. They run the same plays. Sometimes you know what they're going to run, and it's still hard to stop because they run it so much. You fear the man who shot the same shot 1,000 times rather than the man who shot a different one, whatever that saying is, right? So it's one of those. It's hard to stop. They can get tempo going, but I think Kentucky's pass defense is so good. Stoops and White. They so good at, scheming against teams in the pass game. I don't see Mississippi State being as successful as they would against some teams. But I'm anxious to see how the offense come out there bye week. Bye weeks can be tricky on offense, especially when you got a rhythm and you got to take a bye. Sometimes it's not good. Depending on how the practice structure is, I'm sure Coach Stoops did a good job of keeping everybody in rhythm, but it could be tough at quarterback when you come off a game where you went 32 for 42 against the best defense in the country. Now you had a bye week to sit. I'm interested to see how they, keep the pass game, the rhythm in the pass game going. I think the run game is going to be the run game. Tough program. So they're going to run the ball, tough running back, great offensive line. I'm cool there. But it's going to be the pass game that is going to be anxious to see. It's starting to get cooler now, right? The weather starting to change, so the degree of difficulty starting to rise. As a quarterback, that's just one of those things that a lot of people don't really go in depth about, but it does. As a receiver, it does. It is what it is. The degree of difficulty does rise as temperatures drop. So we'll see, man. I think they'll pull it out. But I think it'll be a challenge, though. I think Mississippi State, got some firepower on offense. But I do think Kentucky can control the game on the offensive line.
And last year in Lexington, Kentucky had like 6 picks against Mississippi State.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. They can scheme. I remember Neil Brown got so mad at me and Toes one year, one day in practice. I think it was camp. Fred Tiller, my roommate. He picked both of us off on the same play. They were running cover 2. He was so good at disguising it. He was so good at sinking, like he's bailing out into a cover 3 type look or a cover 4 type look, and he would be playing cover 2. And we both threw 10-yard or 12-yard speed outs or sail routes right into coverage because we thought he was sinking with the vertical, right? So more the story is they do an excellent job. I watched the film. Kentucky do an excellent job on defense when it comes to pass game. Excellent. They just, the DBs are in position. They very well coached, fundamentally sound, and they, the ball's in the air, they attack it, right? So they always in position, and that's most of the battle, right? Being in position. So they'll get them prepared because, like I said, Mike Leach is not a complicated guy. He runs about 8-9 concepts, so they'll be prepared for it. It's just about, can you keep up with the tempo? Can you get a pass rush to make the quarterback uncomfortable? In my opinion.
Yeah. And you mentioned Tennessee because some Kentucky fans are starting to get a little nervous because Tennessee's a lot better under the Heupel in his first year than you expect. You usually expect you go beat down a first year coach because he hasn't got everything together, getting his players in, trying to change the culture, but he's got them ahead of schedule. But to your point, they'll come to Lexington off of a bye. So maybe that offense might not be humming. I mean, they lit up Missouri. They put some points up on Alabama. They're starting to roll a little bit. Hopefully it's a little colder when they come to Lexington. Maybe that'll kind of slow them down a little bit as well.
I do think that Kentucky's more physical in the trenches than Tennessee is, from my observation. But yeah, man, like I said, Tennessee. I watched Tennessee. I watched them. Tennessee is not too far behind from having a way better record than what they have. They, the Pitt game was close.
Yeah.
It turns out that Pitt is a great team. Pitt beat Clemson, even though Clemson's not really the Clemson we come to know. But Pitt beat Clemson last Saturday. But Tennessee is a good team. I'm telling people, Tennessee can play. Tennessee can play.
Yeah.
On offense. On defense, not bad either. But Tennessee can play. Now the good thing is the game is in Lexington. They coming off a bye week, and I do think Kentucky's more physical. So I think when it's cold, the most physical team, in my opinion, football always return back to its origins in the tough games. You look at all the tough games throughout history, whether it's this year or back 1958, is always going to return to its origins. Like people, throughout the years, they throwing the ball down the field every snap, but when you play those rivalry games and it's cold or it's raining, some type of adversity, it always returns back to what's happening inside the box.
Yeah.
That's just what it is. Blocking, tackling, taking care of the ball is always going to return back to its origin. So that's the thing, and that's where I think Kentucky got the edge over a lot of people. They built the foundation in the run game with the offensive line and running backs, and now Will Levis can run the ball. That's the X factor. And I tell people all the time, that's the X factor with Georgia too. That's why Georgia will win that championship, in my opinion, if they stay healthy, because the quarterback they got right now is the best quarterback for the team. He's passing the ball well, and if you go to sleep, he's actually fast, and he will beat you with his legs. So I think that's where Kentucky can beat people late in the season. Will Levis is a good athlete, and he's big too. He's hard to tackle. So that's where I think they got the edge over some people, and it's going to help them out.
Absolutely. Now, flashing back to your time in Kentucky, what was your most memorable play, your favorite game, favorite moment? Something that when you think back and reminisce, what jumps to your mind first?
Most memorable moment. One of my most memorable moments was the I think it was our 89, 88-yard touchdown run against Alabama State.
That's right.
And I say that because, Alabama State, I'm from Montgomery, Alabama. Alabama State, was a few exits away from where I used to live. So I had a lot of people on that team I played against and with my whole life, literally, since I was 5 and 6 years old. Yeah. So that was a unique game for me. Very unique game. I was just coming back off injury, I remember. I almost didn't make it to the end zone. I was so tired because I had an ankle injury. You remember I got the ankle injury against Alabama, and I really wasn't able to practice. I really couldn't walk for a week. So, and I was, I limped my way through practice, and on that run, I didn't even feel it, the adrenaline, I guess. But that was a memory for me, because it's one of those things where everybody from my hometown was watching that game
Mm-hmm.
because of me and for everybody else who played on Alabama State. So that was big. And honestly, just being at Kentucky, developing relationships. I developed a great relationship with, a lot of people. So, a lot of people that I talk to this day. And Bud Dupree actually lived at one exit from me in Atlanta. So, yeah. So, yeah. And that's crazy. And I hadn't even seen him yet because he's so busy with, doing everything. And I'm so busy with my thing. So, when he come back here, I think it's one exit. He may be one or two exits. Nate Willis live here. We got a lot of guys who live in this area that, hopefully they don't mind me sharing that, but a lot of guys who live in this area that I just made good relationships with people. I'm one of those guys who I hate to, I make sure, I'm on good terms with people. And, we develop good relationships, but yeah, so I think, that run was probably the most memorable. Getting in the game against South Carolina after Max, had that unfortunate injury my freshman year. That was memorable and miserable because I took a sack the first play from Clowney and whatnot. But I just think those things were memorable. Well, I mean, you just look back on them and whatnot, and those things kind of stick out the most.
Yeah, and that is your run against Alabama State. You answered everything I was going to ask about it. It's still the longest in Kentucky history by a quarterback. At least he's still in
Yeah,
the record book. So
that's crazy. Yeah, that's wild. And it was a pass play. Like the play we ran a play that they run a lot now, which is like a naked boot type play off of zone. And it was a pass play, and I just saw a crease, and just hit it, man. But Marco Marco Robinson, receiver, helped me out a lot on that play. Got some good blocks. He's also from this area too. So, but yeah, man, that was a big one right there. I think that may have been the longest run for a touchdown that I've ever had,
wow.
unless I had one against, in Little League or something. But I
Mm.
don't know if I ever had a run that long. I had one my senior year of high school to win the game. That was like 76, but that was probably the longest touchdown run I remember having.
And just one more quick thing too. We talked about the ACC, which it's kind of been down for several years compared to other conferences. I mean, back years ago, it was Florida State and Miami every year, and they were ranked in top 5 nationally and all this. Now Clemson is down. You look at those divisions, how weird it is. Pittsburgh and Wake Forest, and it's the whole conference is just upside down over there. The coach of Virginia Tech is on the hot seat. It's crazy in the ACC right now.
Yeah, it's wild, man, and it's kind of shocking to see Clemson take a nosedive like that. To be honest with you, with the recruiting classes that they've had,
Yeah.
there's some holes somewhere. I don't know, can't quite put my finger on it, but it's hard to have that many top 5 recruiting classes or top 10 recruiting classes and
Mm-hmm.
lose and almost get beat by some of the teams they almost get beat by. So, you
Struggle
know,
offensively, dude. Just
yeah,
struggle.
that's that's weird, but at the same time, to be honest with you, I don't care because at the end of the day, I don't even watch ACC football.
Right.
I used to watch Florida State when Jimbo was there, but that's it. And I watched some Clemson because Clemson was good, but I used to like watching the offense. But there's nobody else over there that I really like watching. I like, sometimes I watch the quarterback from North Carolina. Um,
Yeah,
Wake
same.
Forest is undefeated over there, so that tells you a lot about that conference.
That's
They
right.
need they need some serious realignment over there.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, gotta talk about our sponsor. They've been sponsoring the podcast for quite a while. Talking about La Terrain watches. You just became endorser of the product as well. Timeless style. They're affordable. They're water resistant. There's accessories, bands, anything you like. La Terrain has got it for men and women. Several different styles. The red crest. The Voyager, the new Atlas that just came out. You can pre-order it. They got a whole line of watches. Because look, man, when you go out, if you're casual, if you're dressed up, they got something for any kind of occasion. That way you don't have to look at your phone to tell the time every time. You
Right.
want to have a nice timepiece on your wrist, kind of cap off whatever it is you're wearing, whatever look you're trying to
Right.
have. La Terrain has got it. Dave and Ben, those guys are great, man. And you look, if you go to laterrain.com, LA-TOURAINE.com. You can hit the chat button, and it's not some automated bot or something that responds. It's actually the owner himself. Dave will get back to you and answer your question. So whatever you got, ask away. When you go make your purchase, tell them you heard about it on the Believe in Kentucky podcast. You'll definitely be happy with your purchase. And I know you just became part of the La Terrain family yourself. So, good stuff, man.
Yeah, man, I did. Happy to be a part of it. You know, definitely looking to start wearing more watches. I'm a G-Shock guy, man. I've had I bought a G-Shock my freshman year of college at the mall in Kentucky. I wore it for like 7 years straight um, until they finally gave out on me. And then I bought another one that I've been wearing for a couple of years now. So, but I gotta become more diverse. I'm getting invited to weddings and stuff now. I guess I'm at that age where everybody want to get married. So I'm becoming more diverse. So I'm just trying to expand my horizons. But yeah, I looked on the site, scoped it out. Man, there's some great stuff on there. Some they're nice. They look great. The price isn't crazy. So that they're nice and affordable watches. So it's good, man. I'm happy to be a part of it, man.
Yeah, for sure. Like you said, tell them you heard about it. Tell them you heard about them on the Believe in Kentucky podcast. Yeah, I listened to the podcast, heard Vinny and Jalen talking about them, and I'm here to get myself a watch. Man, Jalen, I definitely appreciate you taking the time to hop on and talk some cats, talk ACC, we talked offense, talked about your book. Plug it one more time, prepared, let everybody know so they can get a copy of the book, parents and athletes alike. Prepared, the guide to a successful collegiate experience for athletes and parents. I mean, you encompass everything.
Yep. So some information in this book, man, that like I said, I wish I had as a 17, 18-year-old, getting ready to embark on my collegiate experience. If I did, you don't want to go back and look in the past, hindsight 2020, but there's a lot of things that can be approached in a different manner. For a lot of, these kids are 18 coming into college, 17, 18, maybe 19. You just don't know what you don't know. So as far as organization, um, time management, managing relationships, right? Managing your social life, um, how to build your brand up, right? How to interact with fans. And I mean, I go, crazy with some of the information in here. And it's just, it's some random stuff in here that I've got, hidden in here that it's just, you won't find anywhere else, just to be honest with you. And I'm not saying that because it's my book. I'm just being honest. I just, I had some ideas. I wrote them down, started typing them out, and I just think it'll help a lot. So if you're a parent, you got an athlete, go to Amazon.com, just type in, prepared in my name, Whitlow, or whatever you want to type in. It should pop right up. Boom. I'll continue to post a link to it and order that. Holiday season is coming up, so it'll be good to get your athlete one of these.
That's right. That's right, man. You wise beyond your years, Jalen, man. Keep it up, and I appreciate you taking the time to hop on here this evening.
Man, I appreciate you having me, man. Have a good night.
Hey, you too. Definitely have to get you on again sometime. Y'all be
Oh yeah.
sure to check this episode out. Like I said, go to believe.com or Stitcher, Apple Podcast, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. Also, a Sea of Blue. Jason Markham and the guys to put this episode up on their website. So go to Sea of Blue and get it there as well. It's been another episode of Believe in Kentucky presented by Bet Online AG. We'll see y'all next time. Everybody be cool.